it's time to play a modern staple in Commander. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and here we do all things Magic the Gathering. Today we're doing another Commander deck tech where I take a look at a submission and take a look at the Commander, the card choices, the overall deck strategy, and at the end I'll give it a rating out of 10. Today's submission comes from friend of the channel, Progresso. I believe they also stream under the name Proggy Boy, so we'll plug there for him. And he's got this really cool list that involves a modern staple that up until now really hasn't been used in Commander. So very interesting, and I've played against it a few times and it's a lot of fun. So let's take a look. All right, so here is our Commander, and I'm sure some of you have probably guessed it at this point. It is Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer, the 1-mana 2/1 legendary creature monkey pirate from Modern Horizons 2. It is a 2/1 that when it deals combat damage to a player, you make a treasure token, and then you get to exile the top card of that player's library, and then you get to cast that card until end of turn. It also has Dash. Dash is a alternative cost where you can pay 1 in a red, cast it for the dash cost, and then it gains haste, but it goes back to your hand at the beginning of the end step. So this is, of course, a very flavorful card, being a callback to Kari Zev all the way back in Aether Revolt. So really liked seeing that. And this card has gotten a lot of attention, being very played in Modern if you don't keep up with Modern, and even being banned in Legacy recently for, again, similar reasons. And so we don't really see a lot of overlap between Commander and Modern or Legacy cards. Obviously of stuff like Force of Will, but typically cards, like Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Lava Spike, Monastery, Swiftspear, Goblin Guide, all these cards, that are really good in Modern don't typically tend to be good in Commander, but Ragavan is an exception here of just being so powerful that, just playing it on turn 1, attacking and getting a treasure and potentially a card. And if you have ways to, make sure that this can connect, or even, connect multiple times, giving a double strike or something like that. There's so many ways that you can mess around with this card. And that's always exciting to see. So the deck's really interesting, and we'll see kind of how this Commander, plays well with how it's built. So let's take a look. All right, so here is the list. Let's take a look at the cards here. We've got basically a mono red mid-range list. Just trying to play really good cards, but we also, again, have some combos in here and some really good value stuff. So let's go over this. We've got 2 Planeswalkers here. We've got Torch Defiance here just being a good mid-range card. Getting extra cards, extra mana, sometimes being removal. I don't see you ulting this a lot. If that happens, probably winning the game anyways. We've got Duretti, which is really good at digging through your deck or getting back artifacts from your graveyard. We've got a few valuable artifacts here. We've got Idol of Oblivion, Grinding Station. We've also got some hate pieces like Curse Totem. So Duretti can rebuy that and get us good value just by discarding artifacts and then generating treasure tokens with our various treasure generating cards, and then cashing those in with Duretti. Speaking of treasures, we've got Academy Manufacturer, which is the 1/3 from Modern Horizons 2, which says if you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, you make 1 of each. So now every time we are making a single food, we are now making 3 different artifact tokens: clue, food, and treasure. Particularly the clue and the treasure being the best, obviously. I don't think this deck particularly cares about gaining 3 life, but the 3 artifact part is the part that is particularly relevant. We've got Bergi, God of Storytelling, which is both sides are fantastic for this deck, either being a mana generator on the front side or a card generator on the back side. Really good card to put in a lot of decks. I've got it in various Commander decks that I have as well. We've got Breaches here, Brazen Plunderer, Arg to all the pirates out there. It's got Menace, but mostly we care about dealing damage to our opponents. And if that creature is a pirate, we get to get some cards from our opponents and cast those. Speaking of more pirates, we've got Coercive Recruiter here, which triggers whenever it or another pirate enters, and basically is a treachery effect. Now, I will mention that this also is a combo piece because it behaves very similarly to Zealous Conscripts with the infamous Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker. If you're unfamiliar with how this combo works, Kiki-Jiki says tap, put a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control onto the battlefield. The token has haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So with either Coercive Recruiter or Zealous Conscripts, you can play both of them. Zealous Conscripts will enter the battlefield, do its thing, doesn't matter, but you can tap Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of Zealous Conscripts, again, or Coercive Recruiter. And Coercive Recruiter or Zealous Conscripts will enter, gain control of target permanent, and untap it, which will then untap the Kiki-Jiki. And then you'll make another token with the Kiki-Jiki activation, untap it, and you can loop this infinite amount of times to make the token creature, and that all of those tokens have haste. So this can just end the game right on the spot through various methods, through attacking or through sacrificing or whatnot. I think the main method here is just attacking. There's no sacrifice outlet here. But yeah. So that can be a very powerful game-ending effect there. We've got Combat Celebrant, which rewards us for, having lots of dudes out, so we can attack with it, exert it, and then get one additional combat. We've got Direfleet Daredevil, which is kind of like a hate piece against other spell-based decks, or really just any deck, so that we can get their useful spells. This is really valuable since, playing mono red, you don't get access to the highest quality of cards all the time. Speaking of high quality cards, we've got Dockside Extortionist. Cards busted. Play it. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Moving on. More hate pieces or kind of value cards. We've got Dualcaster Mage, which can either function as a counterspell to a counter, copying the counterspell and reflecting it back. It can also be a good value card for your various instants and sorceries over here. Just so many ways that you can use this card. It kind of seems out of place, but I really like the inclusion here. Very spicy inclusion there. Here's another modern playable card that is making its way into Commander, Fury, being the 5-mana 3/3 double strike. That kind of is a mini Fire Blast, dealing 4 damage, or a Pyrokinesis or something like that. I think it is. Is that the card that I'm thinking of? Yeah, a mini Pyrokinesis, basically. You can evoke it for free by exiling a red card, or if you have the mana, you can just cast it. I like seeing this, again, just free spells and free removal. You should be able to kill something, a planeswalker or a small creature or something like that with this. We've got Goblin Engineer because we don't have Goblin Welder. This kind of functions similarly, but only for artifacts with 3 or less mana. And it puts the artifact into your graveyard, which is nice. So there, again, some good stuff we can get. Again, like I talked about the hate piece of Curse Totem, I think. If I haven't mentioned that yet. No, I don't think I've mentioned that. So yeah, we have some really good artifacts over here, Soul Ring and Ruby Medallion and stuff, but we've also got some nice hate pieces like Curse Totem. We've got Grinding Station to sack our treasures and mills people. I don't know if this is a infinite. This might be part of some infinite. I haven't figured out what it is. If I do, I'll put it in the comments. So yeah, I'm not the biggest combo finder here. Again, I haven't asked about the deck, but yeah, let's keep looking. So we got that. We've got Imperial Recruiter. This is an obvious include. Being able to find Dockside Extortionist, Kiki-Jiki, anything like that. Just having this effect really powerful. Again, redundancy and tutors, all good. We've got Impulsive Pilfer here, which might be part of something as well, because it's a 1/1, but when it dies, you make a treasure. So like theoretically, if you could sack it, and reanimate it somehow for free, that would, be a free action. It also has Encore, so it's kind of like you play it, maybe you block with it, or maybe you don't do anything with it, you sack it, you make a treasure, and you've kind of paid 1 mana to net 1 mana. We already talked about Kiki-Jiki. A really powerful card here is Lila the Blade Reforge. 2 and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature spirit warrior with haste. When it attacks, you exile the top card of your library and you can play that card. And then whenever a card is exiled from your library or your graveyard, you put a counter on it. So essentially, just whenever it attacks, you get a card potentially and a counter. And that's really powerful, just all in one card. There's not really a lot of other cards that trigger it. You don't really need that. You just play it, attack with it. It gets bigger. It gets you cards. Enough said. So really interesting how easily this card just enables itself. We've got Mogged Up Brazen Outlaw here. No really other dwarves in the deck that I saw. I don't think that part matters. What we care about is tapping to attack and make treasures, as well as the activated ability to go and grab an artifact. There are no dragons here, but again, grabbing some of these artifacts, potentially Grinding Station, which is the combo, but it is a combo potentially, but I don't know what the combo is. Then we've got Magnus of the Moon here, which is a obvious inclusion, I think. Magnus of the Moon here, as well as I believe there is Blood Moon. There it is. This is always a great inclusion for any mono red deck. Just being able to hose other decks that might be multicolored, might not run any or very few basic lands. And, this is kind of a way for you to kind of get back a little bit in terms of power. You can play that and really slow your opponents down. We don't, mono red, we being mono red, don't have access to the best mana acceleration always. Sometimes we got stuff like Seething Song, but again, no rampant growth, not a ton of artifact ramp here. We've got Soul Ring, Lotus Petals, and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. So we kind of need something to slow our opponents down, and that's just the thing to do it. Runaway Steamkin is great, gives you mana when you put 3 counters on it, and you can do this multiple times per turn, so sometimes you can just kind of have a mini storm turn. Kind of on that same note, Treacherous Ogre here, another great tutor target for Imperial Recruiter. I'm surprised I haven't seen this in a lot more decks. Maybe I just don't see a lot of mono red decks, but it's a 4 mana 2/3 Ogre Shaman with Dethrone, which has to do with attacking, but we don't really care about that because we care that it says pay 3 life, add 1 red mana to your mana pool. And of course, as we've seen, any effect that pays life or to get you some sort of advantage, whether it's mana or it's cards, is just insanely powerful because you start at 40 life. So Treacherous Ogre, insane, just can add a ton of mana and really get you going. You've got last 2 creatures here being Treasure Nabber to, again, be a hoser against other decks. And then we've got Zorn here, not the most powerful card. Hasn't really seen a lot of action anywhere yet. But here it can double up your Ragavan tokens, your Magda tokens. There's also some cards like Strike It Rich here. So, Zorn just kind of being a decent card that you can play and get that. I'm not sure if that is, again, another combo, because, again, that's also like kind of interesting with Academy Manufacturers, because, you get Zorn out, you get Academy Manufacturer, you make 2 treasures, and instead of making 2 treasures, you make 6. Is that how it works? I think that's how it works, right? Because this says if you would create, you create double. You create an additional. So you make 2, and if you would make an additional, you make an additional one of those. So maybe that's how it works. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be insane value right there. All right, let's move on to the instants and sorceries. We've got Assault Strobe to give double strike. I believe this is to Ragavan, just like on turn 2, just, you cast Ragavan on turn 1, on turn 2, you cast Assault Strobe, attack the open player, get 2 triggers from Ragavan, you get 2 treasures, 2 exile effects. Could be nice. Blasphemous Act to clear up the board, Faithless Looting to get some kind of, card filtering, Gamble, a nice tutor. I think these are fairly straightforward. Heat Shimmer is a nice one to just get an extra, ETB trigger from something. If you did something like Coercive Recruit or Combat Celebrant to get extra, triggers, maybe even... Oh, is this a combo with Dual Caster Mage? Yes. isn't this does something with this does something, right? You cast Heat Shimmer on something. Yeah. You cast Heat Shimmer on anything. You can dual caster mage, enter, copy the Heat Shimmer, copy the dual caster mage, Heat Shimmer, copy the dual caster mage, and you keep going. So that's kind of a cool combo right there. I like that. That's spicy. So there we go. I figured out one of the other combos in here without needing to be told. So there you go. So that's one way again to just end the game. So we've got Jessica's Will here. I don't need to explain this card, do I? Like, this card is seen playing in so many decks, demanding a high price tag right there, so should tell you enough about the card. Rite of Flame as ramp, as well as, I think, Strike It Rich, and was that it? And we've got some, I'll talk about the instance in a sec. Shadow Skull Smashing is removal, or just another land. Again, those kinds of effects are nice. There's another effect that makes a copy of a creature, right? For each put a token that's a copy onto the battlefield. So this is another effect to combo with Dual Caster Mage, or just, again, get some good value. We've got Wheel of Fate and Wheel of Misfortune. These are good rebuys effects. Wheel of Misfortune being a really complicated card that I'm not going to go over. Basically, it's like a game of chicken. So you pick numbers, and whoever picks the lowest number gets the short end of the stick, unfortunately. We also got this World Fire here, which is a crazy card. You exile all permanents, all cards from hands and graveyards, and each opponent's life total becomes 1. So you get to keep your deck. And theoretically, if you have Ragavan and you for some reason haven't cast Ragavan yet, or maybe it's only died once and it costs 3 mana, you could theoretically draw into 3 lands, cast Ragavan before anybody else does. But I don't really see this being that effective. I'm not even sure if I really like this. I feel like this card is kind of dead 90% of the time, but I could be wrong. Let's talk about the instance here. We've got Abrade as just good artifact removal and creature removal. Buccaneer's Bravado acting like another copy of Assault's Robe. Chaos Warp as more removal. And then we've got some interesting kind of counter magic here, or at least the red version of counter magic. We've got Deflecting Swat, Fork, which can redirect spells. We've also got Pyroblast for blue spells, and red Elemental Blast as another copy. Yeah, those are good includes, definitely. Progresso likes to, be able to, have play against control decks and have lots of interaction, which is what we see here. So yeah, we've got Fiery Cannonade, dealing damage to non-pirate creatures. So notably, again, not Ragavan. A lot of the creatures in here are the notable ones, like Coercive Recruiter and things like that are pirates, the Pilferer. So there are some here, but this is a nice effect. It's also instant speed, which, I think is underrated. Lightning Bolt, kind of a weird one, but it's seeing an uptick in play. This is another card that I was like, hey, this is like not a commander playable card, but it is just becoming one because of various low health creatures in the format just getting to have an additional removal spell effect. We've talked about Pyroblast. I think I mentioned Pyrokinesis because again, this is just another free card that you could play from your hand for some reach. Raging Claws, another double strike thing. Seething Song, I think I talked about for mana purposes. We've got Thrill of Possibility, kind of being another copy similar to Faithless Looting. Let's see, we've got Thunderclap, another free spell, being a free lightning bolt. Oh no, only 3 damage to a creature, never mind, but still good. Tibalt's Trickery, I believe this is here as counter magic. Like it's trying to use it fairly in that, it's kind of like the Chaos Warp of counter spells. If someone's playing a really crazy spell, you put it back into the deck, and then they get a random spell. You could do this on yourself, but to get something crazy, but I don't think the deck has enough hits to really make that work. Maybe this is you're trying to hit this off of World Fire, like you Tibalt's Trickery into World Fire really early, and then you I don't know. Maybe that's too big brain. We've also got Valakut's Awakening here. I love this card. Again, being just a free land, but also being able to kind of be a mini Wheel of Fortune for yourself. Just getting to get rid of your cards, put them on the bottom, and then draw a bunch more +1. Yeah, love the instants and sorceries here. You know, lots of interaction, lots of card advantage, and things that help out the deck. Again, love the Heat Shimmer combo. That's such a cool combo. I love that. That's so spicy. Let's talk about the artifacts and enchantments here. We've got Arcane Signet. That's obvious. We've got Commander's Plate. Says protection from each color that's not in your commander's identity color. So that's really powerful when your commander is monocolored. So this being able to equip onto Ragavan very early and then just having protection from everything that's not red. I guess not colorless, but you know what I mean. That's pretty valuable. So I like to see that. I've talked about, no, I didn't talk about Cursed Mirror. This enters the battlefield. You may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. So that's kind of interesting where, you know, if you have something that can put this artifact into play, it can, you know, repeat enter the battlefield triggers of other creatures in play. And, you know, I'm not sure if there's combos or anything, but that's a cool card. And it, you know, even then, does it still have the tap effect? I guess it might not, right? Because it just becomes a copy of the card, right? Because it also is no longer an artifact. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how this card works, but I like the effect of, again, just having an artifact that you can recur. Again, thinking about with the ready, you know, looping Cursed Mirror over and over. That's kind of cool. Cursed Totem, we've talked about a little bit, shuts off activated abilities of creatures. Felwar Stone, Lotus Petal, Ruby Medallion, Soul Ring, Springleaf Shrine being ramp. Idol of Oblivion being really nice. You can play this early, and every time you make a token, whether that's a treasure token from Ragavan, something else from, you know, Kiki-Jiki or something, or, you know, Dockside Extortionist, you get to draw a card. And then, you know, we have this 8 mana effect that we're not particularly going to use, but at least that's my guess, but it's there if you need it. Pirate Spellbomb being a decent removal, you know, just dealing 2 damage to something. I believe this is also probably part of a Grinding Station combo or something where you can, you know, recur this. How are you recurring artifacts is my question. Oh, probably Underworld Breach. That's probably it. Oh, yep, that is it. That is it. Okay, so I think I figured that out. It's like something with Lotus Petal, Spellbomb, and Underworld Breach and Grinding Station. Something like that. something, you know, cast, you know, mill yourself, cast Pirate Spellbomb a bunch of times. Something like that. Then we've got Trailblazer Boots here as an equipment. Again, just another thing to give Ragavan. Essentially unblockable, non-basic land walk. You know, a lot of people have non-basics in Commander. Shouldn't be too hard to find somebody with a non-basic. Enchantments here, only 4. We've got Blood Moon. That was, I think we talked about. We've got Break Through the Line, giving a creature with power 2 or less haste and unblockable. So, if only there was a card with 2 power that we want to hit our opponents. Oh, right, Ragavan. So that's pretty obvious one. I don't think I need to go over that too much. Stranglehold here, preventing searches and extra turns. There's not a lot of ways to search for this, but if you ever draw it and you have the mana to cast it, this is kind of expensive. This is $22. I would probably say this is not necessary for if you're trying to be budget. This is a $730 deck almost. So, you know, obviously that doesn't cut too much out of the price, but you know, if you don't own this card and you own a lot of the other cards and you're trying to build this deck, I would probably tell you, you don't need Stranglehold, but that's up to you. We've got Underworld Breach here, which, you know, gives all non-land cards in your graveyard escape. Escape cost is equal to its mana cost plus 3 other cards. So you essentially get to pay, you know, play the card from your graveyard by exiling 3 cards only for the turn, because at the end step you sacrifice it. This is essentially like a Yawgmoth's Will, if you know that card. You know, so many crazy stuff that you can do with it. I kind of briefly guessed that, again, there's some combo here with Pyrite Spell Bomb and Lotus Petal and Grinding Station that I'm not exactly got my grip on yet. Again, like I'm looking, I'm like trying to find all the different things. I assume again that you know, you're doing something where you're milling yourself, but those combos are always, and those loops are always particularly complicated. So not going to try and, you know, like, and explain these, you know. I'll have Progresso or someone in the comments. Might be you. You might have already figured it out. Go ahead and give us the biz. Let's go over the lands real quick. We've got Commander Beacon, which you can put your commander into your hand from the command zone, which, you know, you might not seem that great, but when you've cast your Ragavan over and over and you don't want to pay, you know, let's say 5-7 mana for it, you can just put this, put Ragavan into your hand, cast it, or you can cast it for its dash cost, which you can also do, I believe, from the command zone anyways. But, you know, if you only want to cast, pay 1 or 2 mana instead, Command Beacon. We've got Crystal Vein, as well as, Dwarven Ruins, as these kind of one-time use lands that add 2 mana. You know, these are nice, again, when you're trying to play things early, again, like Burgi or, you know, casting a Lila on turn 2, like, those kinds of things would be really strong. Lots of mountains, Treasure Vault, can make a ton of treasures sometimes. It is also an artifact land, which is notable. Ursa Saga here, being able to make constructs, as well as grab any of our, you know, cheap artifacts here, Soul Ring, Grinding Station if you're trying to combo, you know, Lotus Petal, Pyrite Spell Bomb, all of these things are decent grabs. And then we've got a War Room here, which is a interesting one. I actually kind of like this card in this deck. Pay 3 mana, tap it, pay life equal to the number of colors in your commander's color identity. So in this case, it would be 1, and draw a card. You know, just having that card advantage on a land seems really nice. Again, not as useful in multicolored decks. Paying 2 or 3 immediately makes this card a lot more questionable. But yeah, so those are all the cards in the deck. A lot of unique stuff, a lot of things going on here. But essentially, yeah, as I said, you know, the deck is trying to just play good cards, you know, keep itself alive, you know, with its, you know, removal spells, you know, keep clearing the board with Blasphemous Act or something like that. And then, you know, disrupting with stuff like Magnus of the Moon and Cursed Totem, even again, Stranglehold, but again, not necessary. But yeah, and then this deck can really get going when it starts to, you know, get its infinite combos, generate lots of mana with Magda, Zorn, Dockside Extortionist being the obvious one, and then winning through various infinite combos, whether that's the Dualcaster Mage combo, the Kiki-Jiki combo, the Grinding Station combo. so many different ways to do it. I'm not going to go over it all. But so yeah, so that is the overall strategy of the deck. As for, you know, the deck as a whole, I think it's so cool getting to see Ragavan be played in Commander. Again, a lot of times, you know, if you, let's say you buy Ragavan in Modern and it gets banned, you know, it just got banned in Legacy. So if, you know, if you're one of those people that you're like, ah, man, I got, you know, I'm playing Legacy, but, you know, my Ragavan just got banned. Well, guess what? You know, now you can play this deck. So I always like seeing that, you know, getting to use the same kind of cards, you know, Chandra, Torch Defiance, we got, you know, Fury, you know, Goblin Engineer kind of, you know, Magnus of the Moon, Steamkin, you know, these are all cards that I'm familiar with from Standard, or, you know, Pioneer or Modern or whatnot. Lightning Bolt, you know, one of my favorite cards. Thrill of Possibility, you know, all these cards that are played elsewhere, but then are also seeing play in Commander. So I like seeing that. I also like, you know, just this kind of deck, just keeping it nice and simple, with the stuff that you're including. The cards aren't particularly crazy to understand. You know, there are some synergy cards, like, again, like Academy Manufacturer and Zorn and things like that. That was a cool notion. I think there's a lot of ways that this deck can really be unique. in your card choices, more than much other mono red decks. So I like that, and I think, again, like, you know, we can chalk this up to, oh, Ragavan's just a busted card, but you know, I think that, you know, these kinds of, I guess I would call them aggressive strategies, are really interesting to see in Commander, just because Commander is such a slow format, I feel like, and seeing something like this be successful, and I know that it's been successful because I played against it, and, you know, my opponent plays Ragavan, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hit so much, and they're gonna get so much advantage so early. So I like seeing that. And it's a very cool deck. So what would I give this out of 10? I'm gonna give this, I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I'm gonna say 8.5 because I wish the combos were a little bit more clear so that it was a little bit easier to pick up. I'm gonna talk a little bit again because of, you know, some of the cards here. So for example, like Stranglehold, 4-mana enchantment, very expensive, both money and mana, and I kind of wish those cards were kind of cut out so that, again, the core of the deck could be fairly simple. Worldfire also just being a card that I feel like a lot of people will get pissed off at or annoyed with. I mean, maybe sometimes it would be fun, but I feel like after a few times this card's going to get annoying. Was this? I think this was like maybe banned and then it was unbanned. You know, I'm not sure. Anyways, you know, I'm giving that, you know, I think the deck is, again, very good. There are some decisions that I would make differently, again, just because of personal preference. Again, you know, not try to play these expensive cards, you know, both for budget and, again, for enjoyment reasons. But very cool list, and again, a good power level, again, both for you know, playing with a variety of playgroups. I think this is a little bit less than that. Again, this has a lot of cards, again, like even Wheel of Misfortune and stuff like that, that are just a little bit more powerful than the cards that most of the you know, more casual side of Commander would be okay playing against. So I don't really see a lot of advantages or a lot of good things happening if you were to play this against, you know, let's say somebody with a precon. You know, I don't think that would go particularly well, especially because of how slow those precons tend to be. So I would probably, again, recommend playing this with a more higher power leveled play group. But, you know, again, if your play group's okay with it, you can also play it there. Anyways, that's going to be it. I'll give it that an 8.5 for the deck. Yeah, that's going to do it for this Commander deck tech. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff would really help me out greatly. And if you want to submit a deck list just like this, you can either send it in the comments below, just put a link with something like Moxfield, MTG Goldfish, you know, something like that. Or you can join my Discord, and I have a channel completely devoted just to Commander decklist submissions for this series. So go ahead and check that out. Link in the description. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me, and I will see you guys for the next video.